Where Arts and Adventure summits the airwaves. This is the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show. I'm R. Brandon Long, along with the greatest co-host in all the land, Todd Oberndorfer, and we are your hosts for the greatest podcast in all the land. Introducing our guests this week, we have Cole Eisenhour. Cole, muralist, musician, artist, what do you prefer?
Renaissance man.
Renaissance man?
Renaissance, yeah, my buddies used to call me that, you know.
Billy Joel?
Artist above everything.
Artist above everything,
yeah.
Okay. Also, for our adventure guest, Alexander Davenport, Ogden Valley Adaptive Sports, or ADAPT, and they brilliantly did the acronym there, Executive Director. He's been in Utah for not even a full year, right?
A little over a year now.
Okay, yeah. 1 year.
So you've hit all the seasons.
I've hit all the seasons.
All the seasons. Oh.
Then you know.
All the snowy seasons.
Then you know.
Your favorite Utah season so far? And this is a really good winter, by the way, so this might not count, but yeah.
So last year, people apologized to me. They said, hey, this is the worst winter we've had in 20 years. And then this year, they're like, this is the best winter in 20 years. So, yeah, you know, I moved here for the winter, obviously, with the job and in creating a ski and snowboard program for people with disabilities. But boy, I love the spring, the summer, the fall. It's just been amazing here.
We had a good fall too. Like we had a really good fall.
We did have a good fall. Yeah.
Usually the fall, I'll be honest, because the fall is my favorite, and it's like sometimes it's a sliver. You get like a weekend. You get a good.
You don't want a half
fall weekend.
Yeah. You don't want it's like 100 degrees in August, and then all of a sudden it's 45, 50 in October.
I want an even amount,
right.
At least of fall. I want a good fourth of the year for fall. That's what I want.
I agree.
This year we had at least a couple months, which is better than usual, so that was good.
I agree.
But then we're making up for it, making up for it.
I've been continuously blown away by just the whole area. I love it out here.
Okay, so Alex, what are you doing in Utah? Because you're not from here.
No, I just moved here from Flagstaff, Arizona, a little over a year ago.
Wait, where's the beer? Cheers.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Yeah, we got
we'll get
best beer.
Mother Road Tower Station beer. It is my favorite beer.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Let's get a shot of that.
Said the beer was, or the show was beer friendly, so I decided to invite everybody here with one of my favorite beers. So.
What's it called when we don't podcast without a beer? I think not
boring. I think we call that boring. I had to do it before.
You had a surgery or something, and then I was sick or something, but very seldom. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just moved here from Flagstaff, Arizona. So for the last 10 years, I founded a nonprofit called High Country Adaptive Sports, and we teach people with disabilities to ski and snowboard.
You founded that?
I founded that organization.
What was that process like? Because did you know anything about nonprofits?
No, I did not. I knew a little bit about skiing, and I quickly learned the impact that it has on people with disabilities in their lives, and really just volunteers and everybody, and how important outdoor recreation can be, and the opportunity to kind of share that with everybody and create that access. So
I got to stop you real quick. How, is someone in your family disabled? Like, why did you gravitate towards the disability client, I guess?
That's a funny question. No, I don't really have anybody in my family. Right out of high school, I joined the Marine Corps, and out of the Marine Corps, I spent 4 years there and moved to Flagstaff to go to school, and had some friends from high school, and they said, hey, we're going to get you a job. And I said, I don't want a job. I just want to go to school. And they said, no, we're going to get you a job. You're going to be a ski instructor. You're going to love it. And I said, nope, I don't want a job. I'll buy a season pass. I'll just ski. And I was a terrible skier and not nearly good enough to instruct is what I thought at the time. And they said, dude, we teach kids how to ski in the morning and we ski around and drink beer all afternoon. It's not a real job.
Sold.
I said, okay, I can get into this. And, one Saturday in my first season, I was a terrible skier, terrible ski instructor. And the supervisor came up and said, hey, there's a special needs lesson. Does anybody have any experience with that? And nobody raised their hand. And they said, well, does anybody want to give it a try? And so
they asked a second time.
Yeah. So I said, does anybody want to try it? And I said, sure, I'll try anything twice. Oh. And went out with the kid. He was 14 years old. He was on the autism spectrum, nonverbal. Took a little bamboo pole and we skied around.
Nonverbal even, wow.
Yeah, and again, terrible ski instructor, did not have any idea what I was doing. And we went around for 3 hours, and at the very end of the lesson, I just kind of let him go, and he slid to a stop, and I smiled, he smiled. But what I didn't know was his dad was watching, and his dad said, Alex, you have no idea what you've done. And I said, sir, I am so sorry. I've never worked with kids. And he said, no. He said, doctors said he'd never ride a bike. He'd never play soccer. He'd never do anything that other kids do. And albeit for 3 seconds, I saw my son ski. And right then and there, I was like, wow, all right, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
got to start a program. I have to, figure it out. And that's what I did. I've been figuring it out ever
Was
since.
it that, like that might happen to other people, but they don't go home and make a plan. Like, so what happened? Like, how did you go home and really change your mind and put that to action?
Well, I saw how impactful it was for the family, and then I felt how impactful it was for me. So then, like any millennial does, is get on YouTube and Google and figure it out. It's like, how to start a nonprofit. And then started a nonprofit. That process isn't that hard. And quickly realized, okay, wow, this is going to take a lot of money. So then I had to start writing grants. And as poor of a ski instructor as I was even worse at writing grants. And so I kept writing grants that kept getting denied, and writing grants kept getting denied.
You were selling us on your nonprofit.
And then eventually it's like, okay, well, hey, we're going to give you $5,000. And it's like, oh my God, $5,000. And, but then just quick, learning from the failures. 80% of learning comes from failure. And I failed a lot. And so, after 10 years of running that, it started with skiing and snowboarding, and then that turned into kayaking and rock climbing. And we have an awesome mountain bike program down there in Flagstaff. And it's so impactful. And then, I got this opportunity to come to Utah and basically kind of do it again. They had an established ski and ride program.
Yeah. So just real quick, you said you took a demotion to come here.
Yeah. So I was the executive director there. And, for 10 years, all of the responsibility and all of the weight fell on my shoulders. I was the founder and I was the instructor and building and training. And so, this opportunity came, Ogden Valley Adaptive reached out to me and they said, hey, we want to start a summer program. And if you could do what you did in Flagstaff. And I said, yeah, absolutely. So I took the job here to be a program director, and I wanted to get closer to the snow, closer to the students, closer to the instructors, and not do so much of the fundraising and the grant writing and all those things. And
not that that's not fun or a good time.
It's fun in its own way, and it's necessary. But I did that for, I think it was 3 months, and then I think the board quickly realized that we needed some leadership, we needed some fundraising abilities, and that's really kind of what I strive at. And so the executive director that hired me, he resigned and took another opportunity, and then we had to decide. The board and I had to decide, okay, well, what do we do? Do I roll into this position and kind of do what I know how to do, or do we take a chance and try and find somebody outside just so I could do what I really wanted to do? And for the organization, where the financial position that we were in at the time, it just made more sense for me to be the executive director and then hire out new program coordinators and directors. So that's what we did.
Hard question. Because you started your own deal and then you came to Utah and you saw a new system, did you immediately see ways to improve, or did you see where the breakdowns were, or what did you see when you got here?
Yeah, got to give a ton of credit. The foundation that was laid here, for Ogden Valley Adaptive Sports was awesome, and this industry is built out of love. It's built out of passion. And really who took it to the next level was a retired teacher and a retired lineman, Jim and Karen Bradley. They did an amazing job. They built this awesome program. So I came in my first year, I didn't want to be the person with the iron fist. It's like, why are you doing this? And why don't you do this? And I just took it all in, right? I spent the entire winter season just taking it in and seeing, okay, where are there room for improvement with fundraising, and where's there room for improvement for training and quality of lessons and things like that. So I really spent the first half of my time here evaluating. And then now, this year, really came into it and decided, okay, well, let's do this. Let's hire these people. Thankfully, our industry is pretty small, so I kind of cherry-picked some really, really great individuals. And this season, we've just about doubled the lessons as of last year. We've blown past all of our goals, both my financial goals and lesson goals, and quality of experience goals. And but we are just barely scratching the surface with identifying and accommodating the needs of this community.
So Ogden Valley Adaptive Sports, so it was purely winter before now, and then they decided they wanted to add some summer stuff, I guess.
So skiing, snowboarding for the last 10 years, I think, maybe even 12 years. And then, they wanted to go to this year-round programming, which is awesome. Thankfully, I'd just done that a couple of years ago in Flagstaff. So what I love to say is, boy, I made a lot of mistakes the first go-around. And the second go-around is a lot easier than the first one. So learning from those mistakes that I made in the past and coming in with a different attitude and a different approach has been super, super successful. So this first year, just by myself, we wanted to provide 50 experiences with cycling and kayaking. And with myself and a couple volunteers, we ended up providing 154 experiences, so 3 times what we thought. So
You do know that's more than 50. Like if the goal was 50. That means the goal for next year is going to be what?
Like 300. Yeah.
I love. You ever hear like a motorcycle passing you on the freeway? I like to be that with goals. Like there's my goal, and then it goes. So it's been awesome. The needs in the community are huge. The support in this community is amazing. Ogden Valley.
Well, yeah,
is great.
talk about that. So who's some of the sponsors and who helps you? Because that can't be cheap to buy some of that equipment that you guys have.
No, the support's been great. We're getting our footing. You know, before it was kind of a very small program by design and really focusing on people with cognitive and developmental disabilities. And, you know, there's a huge need for people with physical disabilities. We have 3 pillars of growth that we kind of created, and one is veterans. So the veteran community, near and dear to my heart, and expanding on that. School systems, you know, getting into our school systems. And for a long time, it seems like kids with disabilities in the classrooms, when everybody went out to go ski, the kids with disabilities had to stay home. And that is BS. You know, we can't have that, right?
Yeah.
And so that was a pillar of growth. And then the third one is rehabilitation hospitals, right? You get people that have been injured. They're in a catastrophic injury. They have a spinal cord injury, for example, and they have one of 2 options. They can sit on their couch and they can think about that day and what they could have done different so that didn't happen to them. Or they can learn how to live with this new body of theirs and learn how to live with this disability and get out there and really thrive. And so that's kind of where we're really hyper-focused on, is identifying those people that, you know, just got injured, and we want to give them the access. And you're right, the equipment it's very expensive.
Have you met Daniel with the Weber State University Outdoor Program?
I sure have,
Okay,
and
good.
and I appreciate them so much. We started rock climbing, kayaking, and cycling last year. These programs are going to take off next year, I know, especially with the people that we have in place. And the Weber State Outdoor Program has been awesome. They're doing all of our rock climbing for us. We do monthly rock climbing events at Weber State. And boy, the crew there is just amazing.
Yeah.
And they love it. They've been wanting to do it forever. They just didn't have the people. Well, we had the people, but we didn't have the means. So we just linked up, and it's been fantastic.
Alex, what in your background, maybe it was in the military, I don't know, maybe it was your childhood, maybe you have good parents, I don't know. What was it, do you think, that made you okay with failing so many times? Because there's a lot of people that won't do that, or if they do fail, they'll quit. And you just stuck with it and decided I got to fail enough to succeed.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that 80% of learning comes from failure. And
Where'd you learn that?
I read
Is
it
this
in
a
a book.
parent thing? Is this a book thing?
Maybe I listened to it on one of your awesome
Yeah.
podcasts. I don't know.
Listen, that is the Banyan way. It's failing 80% of the time. Yeah.
But yes, to your question, do I have great parents? Absolutely. You know, wonderful family and great support group. And, you know, you fall down, you get back up. I think maybe a little bit of the military. I'll tell you what the military did teach me for sure that has helped me in my career is patience. Boy,
How's that?
patience.
Yeah.
You know, in the military, it's hurry up and wait. And now it was always hurry up and wait, but for what? Why am I hurrying up and waiting? Now I love to hurry up and wait. Some of our students, especially with like the cognitive disabilities, an entire lesson might be just getting the boots on, getting your ski boots on, walking around the room. That could take 2 hours. And I have the least amount of patience with myself, with anything. I can barely hang a picture in my house. But when it comes to other people, for some reason, I'm just super patient. And that's something that I've been able to not only learn how to cultivate myself, but also bring out from other people. So that's probably, I used to think, hey, I'm saving the world one adaptive lesson at a time. And then I became an instructor, trainer. So now I train instructors. And it's like, okay, well, I'm saving the world one adaptive instructor at a time. And now I'm thinking, hey, maybe one program at a time. And so I'm really starting to think more on a national level of how can we get this adaptive industry and create more inclusive outdoor recreational
Yeah. Is there a
opportunities.
national program or group or anything?
You know, there's a couple different national things. There's a certifying Professional Ski Instructors of America. They have an adaptive certification process that's known and kind of accredited nationwide. But every state, every ski resort, every state in the country.
They're all different.
Yeah, they're all different, but they all have adaptive recreation programs. You know, Salt Lake City has a great rec program with the city. And there's a bunch of different, most of them are nonprofits, but there's a bunch of different programs. There's programs all over the country. But really, we never really talked to each other. Hey, what do you do? Hey, what do you do? Until COVID hit. COVID hit, and we're like, well, what the heck are we going to do? How are we possibly going to do this in this environment? And out of that came an executive director and programs call. So all the programs meet once a month, and we still do it to this day. We meet once a month. Hey, what's working for you? What's not working? And there's much more of a collaborative effort to create access nationwide. And,
But how satisfying was that for you, especially as somebody who was truly making it up as you go, to start running across people that were smarter than you, more experienced than you, just meaning bringing that other perspective to, it just seems like it's something I'm always craving. So much of what I do, and Cole probably relate to some of this in the art field too, you can make it up as you go. You can be self-taught as much as you want, but if you can really collaborate or work with somebody that either has that educational background or experience level, it makes you a better artist. It makes me a better arts leader in my case. I'm sure that applies to what you do as well.
I wouldn't be anywhere without the leaders in this community. There's so much to learn. There's so much. And behind every single program across the country, if you look at the National Ability Center that runs out of Park City, or Wasatch Adaptive that runs, out of Snowbird, there's always this one driving person behind it all. And I love being that person. But there's no way that I could do it without the support of all of the people around me. And just like any business, and one of the things that I was convincing the board is, an organization is only as strong as its people. So let's invest in those people. And for a long time in our industry, it's always, it's a labor of love, and people would do it for free. Well, that's not a part of the job description.
You're talking about the arts as well? I think maybe
right? Yeah. And that's not, loving your job shouldn't be part of your benefits package. In fact, we should pay people more that truly love their job. And so that's kind of the culture that I'm trying to create in our industry is let's find good people, let's pay them well, let's give them benefits, let's do all of these things to keep them around. Because for so long we find these great people, well, other people find great people too, and then they end up taking a job for either more money or better experience or better growth opportunities. Let's change that. Let's make adaptive skiing and adaptive recreation so much fun, and at the same time pay the people what they're worth. And that's hard in the nonprofit industry. And so that's why, we're scratching the surface here of growth, but the community support has been awesome, and we're just barely getting started.
What, in your short time here with Adapt, has been maybe a good story that you can tell, from like a success story from one of the kids?
Yeah. Boy, it happens to me more often than I think most people. But
Yeah.
I was having dinner at a fundraising event the other day, and somebody, big donor said, "Hey, how was your day?" I said, "I had the best day of my life." He says, "Oh my God, really?" And I said, "Yeah, tell me about it." And so it was somebody that got injured, spinal cord injury, 20 years ago. And that day was their anniversary. It was their 20-year anniversary of getting hurt. And he called us like 3 days prior and said, "Hey, I know it's kind of late notice, but is there any way I broke my back snowboarding. I want to get back and slide on snow." And I had the opportunity to be the one to get him back on snow sliding. And I sat him down and I said, "Look, monoskiing is extremely difficult. It's really hard to learn. The learning curve is super steep. You're going to fall. You're going to hit your face. And I like to say, you need 2, 3, maybe 4 days on snow before you really start to see success."
Is this what is this, the mono skis? And is there a difference for snowboarders and skiers? Like, can you do both, or how does that work?
So it is a little bit ski dominant. A mono ski is basically kind of like a wheelchair that has a single ski on the bottom of it.
And their poles have like little skis on them. Right?
And they have handheld outriggers, and so they
Outriggers.
use those for balance and initiating turns and things like that. But I told them, I was like, "Man, this is going to be so hard. I just want to prepare you for that." I found that when you prepare students for that and let them know how difficult it really is, I pushed that guy up the mountain. I swear, on his first little slide down, he started making turns, and I was like, "You asshole!" Made me feel like a fool. So that's just
Some people just have it though. They just love it, and they have it, and they get it, and it's awesome.
So you're saying he works for you now. Basically, that's what you're getting at.
Well, one of the cool things, we receive funding from the Craig Nielsen Foundation. If you're familiar with the Craig Nielsen Hospital at the University of Utah.
Oh, okay.
They have a foundation, and the premise that I wrote the grant about was, hey, we need a bunch of equipment, right? A sit ski, one sit ski costs anywhere from $7,000 to $11,000. So I got funding about 5 new sit skis, and the whole premise of the grant was, hey, we're going to identify people with spinal cord injuries, bring them in, they can try out the 5 different pieces of equipment, learn how to ski independently, and then they can find out what equipment is good for them. Then we, as an organization, will help them write a grant to get their own adaptive equipment. and then they become mentors to the program. And the end goal being that they're paid instructors. So right now we have 3 paid instructors with spinal cord injuries on staff that are teaching other people with spinal cord injuries how to live and how to really ski independently. I mean, how cool is that?
It gives you those chills.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Are most of the participants in the program local, or a lot of people come from out of town? Like, how does that work?
So right now, about 75% of our students are local.
Okay.
We offer scholarships. We offer scholarships for the 5 surrounding counties, and if you have a disability, you can participate in our program for free. And from last year to this year, I doubled the funding amount. So I just under doubled the funding amount. And we're looking at...
What did I tell you before? This doubling and tripling, is this sustainable?
Well, but here's the thing. So we are
Probably
now
is with you.
2 months into our season. We started a little bit late. Kind of want to wait for the holiday season to pass. And so we started January 2nd. It's now February 28th. And we have exhausted the good news is we have exhausted all of our scholarship funding. The bad news is we've exhausted
all of our scholarship funding. Yeah.
So, that just puts a little bit more pressure on me. This year is really identifying what do we really need as an organization? Where do we want to go? How much do we want to grow? We don't want to grow, and I don't want to grow this organization just to grow. We want to grow until we meet the demands of the community. And once we meet those demands, all right, we're good, right? Let's just sustain it. But to get to where we are now, to meeting those demands, there's a huge gap. And that is my job for the next 5 years at least, to create sustainability within this nonprofit, which for any of you out there that run a nonprofit, you understand how difficult that is to fund. It takes a lot of money to run these programs.
Did you have a comment, Todd?
Nothing other than it's just good work that you're doing. I mean, I think that we collectively in here have a lot of experience with nonprofits, and it is not an easy road. It's a very satisfying road sometimes, but I'm just impressed with all the work you've been doing.
Well, thank you. And one thing that I'll add just to that is, it's not a zero-sum theory, right? When we're looking and we're doing nonprofit, we're fundraising, we're writing grants, it's not that if I write a grant and get funded that it takes away funding from everybody else. If we collectively raise money together and write grants together, then the sum of it all grows, right? And so everybody kind of wins. And that's one of the things that I love about the Ogden community is the collaborative effort. There's a ton of amazing nonprofits. We were just nominated for Nonprofit of the Year through the Weber County Chamber of Commerce, and we're extremely honored for that. But it's like there's so many great nonprofits out here and working collaboratively. And the United Way of Northern Utah is just an awesome facilitator of that too. So anyway, we feel really, really fortunate. I feel very fortunate personally to have found this community and been so well welcomed. It's been amazing.
Alex, I feel like this is all consuming for you. Like you go home and this is all you think about. But so what else do you think about when you're not trying to grow, adapt?
Well, when I'm working, I think about work. Before work, I typically think about work. And then after work is when I'm trying to think about work. I've actually found a little bit of a balance here. I have a wonderful partner in my life. We get married in 10 days.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. And
10 days.
I was married to my job for so long, and I'm still kind of married, but she's okay with a throuple, I guess. So
She's into it, yeah.
No, and she actually works for the National Ability Center. They do similar work.
I was just going to ask if she did, because I just knew that was the case.
What's so funny is everybody thinks that we met through work. Nope, we met just like every other millennial. We met on Tinder.
At a bar.
No,
on Tinder.
Met on Tinder, both swiped right, go to have dinner, and it's like, what do you do for a living? Oh, I work for this little.
Chances?
I work for this little nonprofit. We teach adaptive rec. She's like, no way. I work for a National Ability Center. I'm like, whoa, that's the big cheese up there. So, but I've been able to find a little bit more work balance, and it's even better. I think I perform better at work when I'm at work than when I used to just be always working all the time. So I think it's great.
You live in Ogden Canyon. I just want to mention this because you came to Ogden about a year ago and just dove right in. Like, I'm just going to move to the canyon. I'm going to be one with the people. And then did you skin out of your garage this morning?
Yes. Very fortunate. So, moved to Ogden, immediately fell in love with the mountains. We operate out of Snow Basin, Powder Mountain, and Nordic Valley. Those 3 partners of ours, communally, they give us the most in-kind donations. We would not exist if it wasn't for their generosity. And I was sitting on the gondola on my second day after moving here, and I said, yep, Alex, this is it. And I actually put an offer on a house in Ogden Canyon 7 days after I moved here. And that came to fruition. You know, the housing market was just getting crazy. It was before interest rates kind of skyrocketed and things like that. So everything really has just aligned so well. And yeah, Ogden Canyon, you know, we've had an epic winter this year. And so I put my skis on in my garage, hiked out, took my 3 dogs, and we went for a quick little scan.
He showed me the video. He's literally in the garage with his skis on and then out on the trail. It's so cool.
Yeah, I
would expect no less from you.
Well, you know, at heart, you know, we do all these things, and yeah, we create all this access and all these opportunities for people that typically are in a demographic that don't have those opportunities for access. I moved here for the winter. I love this area. I love the mountain biking. I love the hiking.
Welcome to winter.
Yeah.
We had a good one. How can we help? What can we do to help you? And what does ADAPT need from the community?
You know, thank you. That's a great question. I think the biggest need that I've identified is recognition. You know, nobody really knows about us yet. So many people call and they say, "Well, I've never even heard of Ogden Valley Adaptive." I go to the National Ability Center, and we have veterans that live in North Ogden that take Trappers Loop and go the back way to National Ability Center. They literally drive by Snow Basin, Powder Mountain, and Nordic Valley, all of the areas that we operate out of, and they're going to take adaptive ski lessons. Well, we have a program here, you know, and I know, and I love National Ability Center. Obviously, it's a wonderful organization, but
how can we undercut your soon-to-be wife, I guess?
No. But, you know, just that recognition of people knowing who we are, because when the need is here, the demand is here. We're already kind of doubling the amount of lessons that we did last year. But then as we grow the need, people and our students and the demographic we're trying to serve is finding out about us. Yeah. So will donors, and so will the community, and so will all of the support. So, you know, this podcast, you know, coming out here and just giving our name out there and saying, hey, this is the work we do. Are you willing to support it?
Well, had I known you were going to bring really, really good beer, I would have had you on earlier.
Well, best beer in the world, made out of Flagstaff, Arizona.
It's really good. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, you raised such a good point with recognition, and this will be a good sort of transition in getting to know Cole here, is the idea of recognition, right? And so it's something that I have slowly sort of come to terms with, right? The importance of recognition with what I do as an arts leader in Ogden and now in Salt Lake City. And this question actually applies to all of us. So maybe we'll all sort of address this just a little bit as far as the importance of recognition in what you do, right? Maybe in your case, it's, you know, executive director of a nonprofit group. Maybe in Cole's case, it's you know, up and coming artist getting more and more gigs and how important that is. Or in the case for Brandon, it's podcasting, right? It's making a professional go at podcasting. Why do you see it so important to be recognized? Well, I'll start with you, Brandon. What do you think?
I don't know. You put me on the spot.
It's no spot. I just mean as far as that word of mouth recognition. However you see recognition, you know, maybe it's an award.
Okay.
Maybe it's.
Yeah, I'm not really into the awards thing. You and I, we've won award. We won the Ogden Mayor's Awards.
But we could use that as a good example of why was that important for us as a Banyan Collective, though, because it's important.
Yes. However, and I appreciate the award, but it's not. I don't know. I think that was a little premature. I would like to do more. I have higher standards. And so I think we're just starting, even though an award doesn't mean like a culmination of work. Sure.
But it is maybe a little extra something that helps you get to that next step. That's kind of how I see it.
It did make me feel fantastic. So that was good. But it does give you confidence to maybe keep going for sure. And to take that to say, okay, I think I'm onto something. And there's value here, and people appreciate this, and they see me. I'm, there's some validity there, and that gives you maybe, because we probably all suffer from a little bit of insecurity at times, and so it does. When you are seen, when you are recognized, it elevates you to say, okay, I got a little bit more confidence to keep going and keep moving forward.
Validity, right?
Validity, for sure.
It validates everything that you're doing, all that hard work, all that.
Well. And you say recognition, Todd, the best recognition comes from, and Cole can maybe, this is kind of funny because he was involved early on. When we get musicians that message us on Instagram, I'm emotional.
And recognition as what we provided, or just the interest in what we do.
Yeah, just the thanks because of the platform that we provide for them, and that is better than any award we could ever get.
Yeah, that's such a good answer. I appreciate that. Any other thoughts on that? As far this is more goes out to nonprofits out there and how important that recognition is for each of those nonprofits.
Boy, I hope they don't get recognized too much, because if people knew how much work went into these programs, probably nobody would do them. But yeah, I mean, really that validation. You know, it's like you put your life into this. I've put the last 12 years of my career into teaching people with disabilities how to ski, and you know, a lot of people sit on their deathbeds and they wonder, well, did I do anything to make an impact? I don't have that problem. The people that work for our organization and other organizations like us, they don't have that problem. They know they've made a difference. And that's what we're trying to do, is make a difference in this community.
You sort of do get immediate feedback.
We certainly do. I mean, people blow past my expectations, just like the other day. They blow past my expectations all the time. And a lot of times it's like, okay, that was kind of a ho-hum lesson for me as an instructor. But what did that do for the participant, right? And what we found, and I was doing research with Northern Arizona University, and the case study was the adaptive program that I started. It was awesome. And, you know, we found that people that participate in adaptive recreation are much more likely to be successful in building relationships. They get better grades in school. They're 55% more likely to become employed full-time, which is huge in the disability community. So it's like, yeah, we're out there skiing around and it's fun and miles of smiles and everything's great, but really the impact that it actually has on the lives of people in our community, it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Cole?
I love it all. It's super motivating. I love hearing everything he's saying. He's got it more pieced together than me. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to say next to what you got going.
I love Cole. So Cole and I met in a van down by the river with Todd.
Yeah. And I think that that was through music. And then I think that I was trying to think back the first time I met you. Was it like an artist selection committee? Were you applying for that grant downtown, or for that mural downtown, I should say?
Yeah, I think so.
And so learning that other side of you, and I think I'd maybe seen a piece that you'd done, but I didn't know to the scale that you were working at that point.
I was pretty new to the scene. It was all pretty new to me.
Yeah. What's the location of your downtown mural right now?
It's across from,
it's on Kiesel.
On Kiesel,
Yeah,
across from the amphitheater.
Yeah.
What's the name of that piece?
You Belong.
You Belong. And so that's where we first met, was on that. And so I love that we met through the music and we met through the arts as well.
Yeah.
And so that's probably a good place to start, because we could touch on your background as far as your sort of formal education as an artist. Mm-hmm. But then more importantly is what you did with that outside. So you finish school, and then what happens?
It was quite the journey. In college, track was a big focus. I was talking about that before the podcast. I was an athlete first. Art was kind of second. It kind of came naturally in the family. So I was like, I'll get a degree in it. I met a professor down there that later became my mentor, and then I became really enthusiastic about it. I saw the possibilities of what I could do. I was scared of painting and everything during college, so I just focused on drawing, really trying to be more informed on, realism was like my main thing. So drawing was like my only focus in college. But once I got out, I realized if I want to make it in the fine art business, galleries and stuff, I need to learn to oil paint. That's where the money's at. So I started teaching myself color theory and watching videos and stuff. Never painted in college, just taught myself to paint. So it was about, I think, about 2 or 3 years of painting before, I helped my mentor on a big commission for Adobe down in Lehigh, which was like pretty transformative, big project.
It's cool. We have Adobe in the state.
Yeah, seriously. And it was a big privilege. They built this new addition to the building, and going down there and working on these huge panels. I still need to post about it, but they're pretty.
Are you able
crazy.
to post about it now?
I wasn't for a little while, but now I think I'm cool to do that, because they're super impressive, like paintings that we
need to see it
on.
Collectively. I've had an opportunity to see some of those photos, but
the
rest of the world really does need to see it. Even if we need to just sneak into the building
They're pretty crazy.
somehow?
I need to go. I want to go down and get some pictures with the pieces and stuff. But after that, I did a couple small little murals, and then I applied for some other mural opportunities here in Ogden. That one down grant. Obviously, my experience didn't warrant me to get the opportunity probably, but I had encouragement from some people on the Ogden Art Council, and then I applied for the Market Star one and somehow slipped through the door. And apparently my interview somehow was really good, my presentation, and they gave me the opportunity. And that project itself has just launched my career, I guess you could say. It's only been a few years now, I guess, but it's really kind of paved the way for me to like really, get involved in murals, which I never would have thought I'd ever do. I was really just going to be a fine artist, but yeah, the mural thing, it's I don't know. I really love it. It's a challenge because I'm not used to it. It's really more about design than the actual painting. I'm very confident in my, ability to paint and draw and stuff, but the designing and stuff is just, it's a little twist to it. So it's exciting. It's coming from, a formal education out here. I never would have thought I'd be doing murals. It's like, it's so different than what I thought I'd be doing.
So what were you going through? What was going through your head when you got that gig? Because it's one thing to apply. It's one thing to put together a package, get in front of a bunch of strangers and talk about your work. And you were pitching an ideas. And sometimes I know with murals, there's a little bit of a design by committee, which I'm not always a huge fan of, but sometimes that does happen as well. And so when you got the call, like what was going through your head? What was those first steps? Like, I want to know those.
Oh, well, I had some initial stuff in my presentation, like my initial concept revolving around the theme "You Belong," which is for anybody listening about inclusiveness, involving everyone. Everyone belongs. I mean, it can be simplified and it can also be extrapolated into something a little more complex. So, my process now, I think, with like any mural application or coming up with ideas, I go in my sketchbook and I start jotting down kind of like a little design tree, springing off ideas from like with this "You Belong," what does that mean? And I start breaking off like different meanings, what could correlate around the phrase or whatever they're trying to go for. And in this case, it was just, some way to convey, the whole spectrum of people or personalities and stuff like that. So it was a crazy process. I can't even remember it. I was so stressed. It was nuts. I came up with so many different designs for that thing. And
how many?
Oh, probably close to 10, but like even the one I submitted, they actually like refuted it. They were like, "We want what you showed us in the presentation." So I spent a bunch of time on one concept and it totally they axed it. They were like, "No, we don't want this. We want what you showed us in the presentation," which was like something I mocked up way last minute for my submission, which is so ironic, And
Todd, does that happen a lot, or
It certainly can. I think more than anything, it's whoever is on that selection group, whatever they connect to. So maybe it's something that you threw together in a minute. Maybe it was a work that you did 12 years ago. Maybe it was something, that you did at Adobe, like elements of what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just like, okay, you got that skill set, so you got the gig, but we're just going to have to even invite you back for the idea.
Yeah.
Like, meaning you may not even identify with, a pitch yet, but you really want to invest in this person, right? And so at least they had something to start with, even if it was your drawing. But that's a learning that.
I think so. Yeah. See, and I feel like as far as my interview process went, I definitely leaned on my ability. I can show that I can paint, but they had to take a risk in like trusting me to design something cool, to like represent the company.
Conceptualize it.
Yeah, conceptualize it, which is I'm finding to be the most difficult part is like what design is going to, work for whoever I'm, doing the mural for or whatever it is, because I know I can paint it.
Does that get into weird stuff like don't tell me what to do, don't tell me how to live my life and paint this? Where's the line?
Well, that's what Todd was saying, like design by committee. Yeah, I don't know. It gets kind of tough, You kind of want to do your own thing. You want to be expressive. I still don't know what my voice is. if you
Yeah,
look
but
at
you got like a committee that's telling you what they want.
yeah,
Well, I think more times than not, the heads of the committee will hopefully try to rein in the group itself,
Yeah.
But sometimes there are fair notes to give to the
Mm-hmm.
artist, right? And let's be honest, it is a dynamic where, in this case, it was MarketStar was paying you for work done, right?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't just necessarily Cole coming up with, you get this or I'm walking.
Yeah.
It's more of sort
So
of.
how does it work? They find an artist where they like what they've seen, and then they say, "Give me some ideas," and then they just feel like they can just say, "Okay, well, now just do this."
Well, with a proposal, if they're doing like an is it an RFP or RFQ?
Sometimes it's for the talent alone.
Yeah.
And then you pitch an idea. So it's just like you got the gig just on the talent alone. And sometimes it's simply you pitch some ideas and it's just like, okay, we're going with that design. It might be a little tweak, but mostly it's
Any
gonna
of
go
it,
very
it's
close
like
to
we
that.
just like this person.
The call is very different.
Well, yeah, it depends on the call. Like sometimes they give you more information than others. Like MarketStar gave a pretty thorough explanation of what they were looking for. Some jobs you don't know what they want necessarily, and it's kind of like you just throw whatever your resume is in and hope maybe you get picked, and then you find out kind of later, and you go through a process. They're pretty thorough in explaining stuff, but
But you're an artist. You said artist above all, and this is the opposite of fine art, because in fine art you would just do you, right?
yeah, and
So
I
how is
still
this-
kind of do that, but yeah.
So how do you feel about this?
Like doing murals.
Yeah.
I think I love it. The challenge of it, I think, is what I like. Fine art, I know I can do it. I can do realism really well. I think the bottom line between either of them is really, what am I painting? The best muralists, they get to paint whatever they want. Some people just come to them for what they paint, I'm sure they go out for calls, with businesses and corporations and stuff like that. But the best ones that I follow, and I've scoured Instagram for them, those dudes, man, they have a style, they paint certain things, and they just get paid to paint them.
Well, Todd knows. Talk about the Monarch mural here.
Jane Kim's, yeah.
Jane Kim.
And that was one where she,
That's her MO. That's what she does.
yeah. And I think that even just with the opportunity of that first mural of yours across from the amphitheater, it really set a precedent for your style, because I don't think you really compromised on that level of detail. Like that sort of some of those fine art qualities. Obviously there's elements that you can only do on maybe a large scale like that. But at the same time, I think that you still stayed true to your style, which in turn I would assume helps you get the next gig. Helps you get the gig after that. It's all sort of the momentum of what will help me get to that next level.
Yeah, I mean, I put so much effort into that mural. I was out there every day. I don't even know. I should have tracked the hours. I didn't, but people's more of a specialty for me. That's what I did for so long. I'm kind of doing some different stuff right now as far as that fine art stuff goes. But I knew I could impress, and I know how to paint well enough, and I know people, the anatomy and how to do faces well enough that I knew I could nail it. So I put everything I had into it, because I knew that this would launch, at least a few other opportunities. And so far it's kind of just compounded, and they kind of keep coming, so.
And that really parallels with all the behind the scenes work, right? I'm driving down Kiesel Avenue and I see your mural and I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. It's great. He went up there and he painted it. But what I don't see is all the hours and all the projects and all the different pitches. You said 12 different pitches, and it's like nobody knows that.
Yeah.
How do we get people to know how much work you truly put into something?
And here's
like
the
this?
secret too on that too, is the fact that as an arts advisor, which I did for years for undergrad students at the Weber State, and then sort of working my way into an arts administrator, type position, it's advocating for artists, but it's also being protective of their time, which equals money, and how they can make a living with doing the art that they do, and not doing it for essentially nothing, right?
Yeah.
Unless that they are full out, making that a little bit of that compromise. I'd never, ever, I hate that phrase, doing it for the
Exposure.
for the exposure. And let's hope people just aren't even really doing that anymore. That was very big for a long time. And so hopefully you're not doing that. But at the same time, if you do want to set a bar for yourself when you're kind of getting things started, you're going to make some compromises personally. But at the same time, when I see a work of art, I want to think, no doubt that took a lot of time. What I love now about a lot of murals is that there's often like a time lapse cameras set up. I love that because that gives you a sense of I like seeing it from that base layer wall kind of working its way forward. But at the same time, I just want the artist to profit from the time that they spent on it.
Yeah.
Right? If you're there for 20 hours a day, right? Which could easily happen, right?
Yeah.
If you're on like a deadline on something like that. If you were to break down your hourly at the end of this, it's like, well,
do it.
maybe I have work for the
$8
next
an hour,
5 years. $8 an hour sounds nice. Yeah, no, I'm sure it's probably less than that. And so I think more times than not, it's how do you get to that next level and also protect your time.
Yeah, and I mean, well, and the transformation from, going from like, my studio stuff to murals, it's a lot more labor intensive. That was different because I had a scissor lift. But like some of these jobs, I did a few for Roosters. I'm up and down ladders and just like moving stuff, and it becomes laborious. My arm's killing me, my neck's killing me. I'm not saying it's harder than like an actual labor job, but there's another aspect to it that in my my fine art studio I can sit in a
sacrifice
nice chair.
the body, Cole.
I know.
Go.
Hey, I'm all about it. I like it. But like in my fine art studio, I can sit there, I can sit in a chair.
Yeah.
I can have like we were talking
You got
earlier.
good music going.
Yeah, music going. I got maybe like a podcast or a show. I've been watching a bunch of Seinfeld lately while I'm drawing. So like, you have those luxuries. When I'm out in the mural, it's like I'm up to whatever the conditions are as far as weather, and it was hot when I was doing it. So yeah, it's a different ball game.
How does that affect like the paint itself, right?
Oh,
Like,
it was
it's
drying
like
quick.
That's an element that I've never thought about.
Yeah, so it just kind of, I guess it would depend on what I'm painting. Over there, the way I blended was like through different gradients, so it was a little more graphic, but like I don't know, it just depends. It depends what I'm painting. Like
I'll tell you what, all that applies into the choices. I think that's where to that scale, I think that's where a lot of those artists use spray paint probably for certain reasons, right?
Yes.
Well, you take certain things into consideration. It's just like, well, I know I'm used to this and I can't use this, but what can I find that's like maybe equivalent to that on a scale that's, 20 times what I usually do.
I wish I knew how to use spray paint at the time.
Oh, just wait. I'll bet you'll do something. Have you used it?
No, I'm planning to. I have some murals coming up in a couple months, and I'm like, man, spray paint just saves time because this is the other thing with
Is
murals.
that like you use it like as a base and then?
No, you can go. Oh man, I have some artists I got to show you.
Okay.
You can get so good with. I mean, it's like airbrushing.
Yeah,
Like, they make
No,
the
they
can,
get good.
Yeah, they make the can so versatile. They have like a low spray to
Yeah.
them, so you can get like a really nice like
Use a
subtlety
cardboard
to
or
it.
anything to sort of
Yeah, they'll use stuff. Yeah, there's different techniques.
Have you seen the videos? Don Rymax for those Grant murals, he used a lot of
Yeah.
spray paint on those.
Did you watch Don work when he was here?
I stopped for a little bit. I talked to him and the other dude that was helping him.
Just even to get an understanding or even just
Yeah.
like the idea of that kind of scale.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
got
kind
to
of
be
speed.
helpful, right? To have
Oh,
somebody,
yeah.
have somebody at that level here in town.
Well, and like I was saying, like with murals, you're dealing with texture is another thing. Like I'm doing a mural for the Echo Center up 26th Street, and it's on stucco. And with a brush, I mean, even with the concrete over at Market Star, I'm very OCD, so I was stabbing the paint in the holes and stuff. It just took forever to get it exactly what like I wanted. With spray paint, you have no problem. You're right in there, and then you just worry about sealing it and protecting it. But there's different ways to. I mean, there's so many different methods. I follow so many different artists, but the best ones that I found, spray paint. It's always useful to use a brush, be able to use a brush, and I know I can fall back on that, but spray paint's time saver if we're talking money and time.
Yeah.
And just the ease of it. I'll have to work out my finger a little bit, but
Your finger lifts.
Well, while we're still talking about murals for a second, tell me about your new gig down in Salt Lake. That's pretty exciting. When's
Yeah.
that coming up? It's a Mural Fest.
Yeah, Mural Fest. So it's the first 2 weeks of May. So no, I don't have any details now. Don't know what business I have or anything like that. But they work with it's South Salt Lake. They work with local businesses out there. They're still finding walls right now, but businesses apply. You get paired with one, and then you work with the owners and the it's another committee.
This is amazing.
They've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they
it's
got
artists from nationwide. Or is it
world.
global?
It's global. Yeah. They had, gosh, I can't even remember how many applications they had this last year. it was hundreds and hundreds.
And they're like, wait, Cole from Ogden? Yes.
Yeah. I didn't think I'd get picked. So there's a lot of pressure right now. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing yet. So I'm just kind of up in the ether, kind of just waiting to hear.
Now, do they give feedback on what they want to, or can you do whatever you want on
Well,
this?
as far as I can see right now, you get paired with the business and then you work with the owner, but then it still has to get passed by the owner. Whatever design it is has to get, accepted by the owner and the committee.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still don't know that yet. I'm excited for it. It's going to be crazy because there's some big muralists coming in.
For me, murals are the most impactful when they are, when the community, when the neighborhood, when that block is taken into account.
Yeah.
Right. If I were to bring in something that is important to me right here, down in the creative district, and put it down in South Salt Lake, that would make no sense. Right. In fact, that would be kind of almost a little offensive to that area of Salt Lake, right? And so I think that interaction, I actually love that you're going to work, sort of hand in hand with the business owner.
Yeah.
I was just thinking it's like when people go into to get a tattoo and they're like, I don't know what I want, just do whatever. Do they ever do that with a wall? I don't know, just put something on it.
Roosters was kind of that way. They knew they wanted something to the brand. For the, I worked at the one in Layton, so I knew I'm going to do something with the rooster. I'll do something stylized for the rooster side. And then the Coop, the new bar they opened up next door, it was free reign. The owners, they gave me
free, just like the roosters.
Yeah,
free range, free range,
it's free range,
free range,
chicken.
Yeah. Free range, yeah. Yeah, they gave me a lot of freedom to do what I wanted, and we didn't have a lot of hiccups, with the designs and stuff. So that was super cool. I got to kind of do some different stuff. So. And I'm learning along the way. So anyone that gives me an opportunity, I'm grateful, and everybody's stuck their neck out for me out here in Ogden. The Ogden Art Committee has been
Is this a
great
full-time job for you?
I'm getting there. I do some part-time stuff, family business stuff,
Okay.
But all this art money, I save it.
Yeah.
I make enough from it that I could live from it, but the ceiling is the limit. I'm very ambitious, and I'm hardworking. If I didn't do the part-time stuff, I could do a lot more than I'm doing now. So I'm kind of just helping until that blows over. So
Todd, how hard is that to become a full-time artist as an artist?
Easy breezy.
Easy breezy.
Piece of cake. That's
You
why
liar.
That's
You
why they all
liar.
do it. That's why they all do it. It's an insane amount of work that involves doing all the things.
Yeah.
The fact that you're all the things we mentioned, the Renaissance man, the musician, you're doing some.
We didn't even
custom
talk
work at
about
home.
that.
Yeah, no, we can certainly talk about that as well. But the fact that sometimes it is finding, if you can focus on just the one thing, and that may happen.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? It's I'm starting to see maybe a trend, murals blow up in the summer, outdoor stuff, obviously dormant in the winter. There's interior murals. I have a few kind of
Here, but in warm Florida, Arizona, whatever.
Well, and that's the other thing. The more opportunities I get, and I need more large scale ones like the one in Ogden. So I'm hoping this one in South Salt Lake is a decent sized wall. The more I get, then the better chance I have when they have national RFQs, requests for qualifications, because I can apply out of state and fly out somewhere and do some. The best muralists I follow, they go all over. I mean, they're in different countries around the world doing murals, and it's man, if you land some, and they have a couple websites, call for entry. You can go on there and look at the budgets for these murals. Man, if I could land a couple big ones, I only need to do 2 or 3 a year.
Right.
I would love to see you leave.
Me too.
Get out of here. What are you doing, Cole?
I mean, for a little while, then you come back again.
Todd knows that, there's a lot of money out there for these things,
Well, okay, yes. And how are you going to feel if all of a sudden your full-time job is muralist, not fine artist?
I don't think I'd be too upset.
To me, I think that fine art part falls back into the murals as well.
It does.
I don't think it's so cut and dry, honestly, anymore. As far as calling one thing this and one thing this, I think that it's definitely
is fine art more prestigious or something?
It depends what you're doing and it depends what type of fine art you're involved in. There's the classical, hyper-realist, but if you're talking more of contemporary galleries, a lot of them, they can kind of bleed into the mural art. I follow some guys that do some stuff in galleries. They're fine artists, but it could easily be a mural. So like it just depends, you know.
There's a lot of street artists that show their work in gallery spaces.
Yeah.
And I love those artists as
Yeah.
well.
There's
And
a
it
few.
really does take it out of the context, which is kind of fun sometimes too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot more crossover than you might
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
I just want like the underground fine art stuff where you're selling things to like Russian oligarchs and stuff like that. Like, what's-
I want that too.
because that's when you make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So basically, people out there, that's what we're saying.
That's
Just work
that's what
long
it
enough
boils
that you
down
can
to,
sell to
yeah.
Russian oligarchs. Oh my gosh!
See, I feel like, you know, with murals and the fine art, they do bleed together. You know, the skill that I learned just focusing on realism and capturing whatever I'm drawing, really learning the technical scientific side of it, it definitely helps me in the mural part, because there's muralists that don't have that background, and I know I can draw and paint whatever I need to. That's where I like fall back. The designing and finding a style is honestly the hardest part right now.
What have you learned from like street artists, the spray paint on train kind of artists, sort of, you know, the legit like not muralists, but you know, the street artists, I guess.
Like graffiti artists.
Yeah,
too?
graffiti artists.
I feel like, I don't know, the biggest thing I pull away from
All I
those-
know is they know how to use spray paint like like nothing I've ever seen. But
Well, I think the big impact of artists like that, or like, you know, something more simplified, if it's just words or letters, you know, shape, color, you know, things, mural art, you learn, you know, to look at things more simplified. You know, you get caught up like and when I say fine art, I'm doing the hyperrealism stuff, super ultra realistic, you know, not too crazy. That can get gaudy, but
your fish is amazing, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I gotta finish the second one, but yeah, just learning to, you know, simplify things and abstract things in a certain way. It just gives you a different way of seeing, which is big, I think, in art, you know. And I don't want to be too tied down to one style. A lot of artists get that way. I respect a lot of realists out there that train at these classical schools, but they all paint the same, you know. And I don't want to be that way. I could go to one of those schools and do that, but you know, I'm interested in kind of exploring everything, you know. Like I'm studying letter creation right now and drawing, and like, because I want to learn that part of like the spray paint culture and stuff like that. And you know, I think and Todd can, you know, attest to this, like within mural artwork, I think a lot of it is very graphic designy. And that's one thing I'm lacking. You know, I want to like dig more into that, you know. So and when you're making concepts to like pitch for these you know, calls for art, you need to submit, you know, digital renderings and stuff like that. So there's so much that goes into it. You know, it moves from a sketchbook into Photoshop. You know, I'm on a Wacom tablet drawing stuff up, trying to make, you know, an accurate representation of what I'm trying to do for these people. And it's just tough to, there's so many different you know, sides to it, you know. So
Well, okay, Renaissance man. When I met you in a van down by the river, you were a musician, and I had no idea this side of you existed. So, do you miss that at all? Do you play ever? Like,
yeah. I just played Saturday. We did.
With
we
who?
had my new band, Strange Familia. Still need to get back to you on the date. I think we're all good.
Oh yeah, that's a little insider right there.
I didn't
We're
know.
trying to line up.
Yeah,
a date.
I didn't.
Yeah, we got.
Strange Familia. I've heard the name. Strange Familia. Okay.
Great music. Yeah, I still play. You know, I love. My big thing, you know, when you first start in a band, everyone wants to be famous or whatever, but you know, of course,
Or whatever.
That's your delusion, you know, that motivates you for a while. But now, you know, the big thing for me, and I'm a drummer, I just want to play. I like playing, and the new band I'm in, great songs. So you know, we have practice twice a week. Don't play as often as I'd like.
I don't know what the other kids are doing, but I see future ex-boyfriend, and he's doing
Tyler's.
good, so,
they go at it. Yeah, Tyler's playing like the Nomads used to, the previous band. Yeah, we used to play all the time, and I miss that. I like being in front of people. You know, I want to play, you know, more big shows like the Twilights. You know, I want to do more of that stuff and like play at the Complex and the Depot and things like that. You know, I don't need to be famous, but I want to play in front of people. It's just the adrenaline from it is fun, you know.
What about, how's it compared to like a mural in front of people? Do you drive by your own murals and be like, damn, that's good?
It's fun to see the ones around, or the one around here. You know? I like that. You know, I want to get them all over the place, but I don't know. It's different.
I want to paint this town with my murals.
Yeah, you know, they satisfy different parts of myself, you know.
Yeah.
I have to compartmentalize.
Compartmentalize.
Had a few beers.
Really just one, because it's like the greatest beer in
I know, yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I just have a lot of things I'm interested in, so it's nice to be able to jump around. But yeah, art is like the main focus, obviously, but still love doing music.
Cole,
All right, so here's the
Take it
big
away
question.
from it.
This is probably the similar question. I don't know if it is or not.
oh,
First of all, I don't want to forget to ask, like, where can we follow you
Yep, that's
and the
it.
work that you do?
Instagram's going to be the
I think
best
he's
place.
really bad at this, though. You got to
Yeah.
be better at your
I do.
Instagram.
I do. I need
Yeah.
to put.
What's your
And
handle?
what is your
Yeah.
Instagram? I'm
It's,
typing it in right
it's,
now.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. LJ.
Okay.
I told you he was bad.
That's real bad. If you don't know what your Instagram is.
LJR the third. So I need to explain this. So my Instagram name, I changed it to LJR the third because.
But wait. What is it, like LJR
It's
underscore 3 or
No,
LJR? What is it, like
LJR the third underscore.
LJR THE?
No. LJR 3RD.
LJR 3RD. LJR
Underscore.
3RD. Okay.
So a lot of muralists, they have like a moniker that they go by,
Right?
and that's what LJR.
That's what you spray paint on.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Paint on the
So
thing. Okay.
my dad, when they were growing up, they used to have a bunch of nicknames like between their group of friends. So his was LJ Roadfish the third, and that's I want to have like a mural. I think I'm gonna use that as my mural name,
LJ.
my
oh,
muralist
okay.
name. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna come up with something like to the third degree or something. I need to come up with like a logo for it, but
Yeah.
LJ. It stands for LJ Roadfish. Larry J Roadfish. Is
Oh,
what
I like that.
Yeah.
Roadfish's last name, or what's the?
It's no, they got a buddy whose last name was that, but they all adopted it and had their own renditions of it.
Yeah.
So I took it from my dad.
I like
Larry J Roadfish the third.
I
LJ Roadfish the third.
Yeah.
And in the very least, we'll just look you up. Cole Eisenhour.
Yeah, Cole Eisenhower.
Wait.
Yeah, you can find me.
Eisenhour?
Eisenhour.
It's spelled Eisenhower.
I know. Yeah.
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 But it's Eisenhower.
EISENHOUR.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's deceiving.
All right, Cole. This is where you get to talk about your dreams and aspirations. What's like the end product look like? Who are you in like 20 years
Or 5 years.
or 5, but 10?
yeah, 10 is
Split
good.
it. Yeah.
Okay. Traveling around, I would like to travel and do murals. And I'd also like to be all over in galleries and selling fine art.
It's all doable.
Yeah. Honestly, that's like where my mind is.
Okay.
Getting in galleries. is
Have you been
a
doing
big
this
thing right
long
now.
enough to give it any advice to up and comers? What have you learned so far?
I've been doing it a while. I don't know everything. I think the biggest thing
What?
is
What? I was going to ask you all. You know everything, right?
No.
I mean, that's simply a given at this point, isn't it?
I know a
people
lot of
think I
stuff.
know everything.
I know a lot of stuff. I don't know everything. I think the biggest thing for me, like coming from an athletic background, because I was like a serious
Work out
college-
more.
Yeah. I treat art like I did my training. Like you just have to work hard. I just think there's no other way to it.
Are you pretty self-disciplined?
Yeah. I get out.
I'm jealous.
I'm at it. I get at it. Some days are better than others, but yeah.
That's how you get to the next step.
Yeah, you just have to. Some days I don't want to, and I just still do it.
Thanks, Cole. I'm so happy I learned that you were way more than a musician.
Although that's fine.
Yeah, although,
course, yeah.
yeah. I mean, not that
Layers.
that's bad, but
There's
yeah,
layers.
yeah. Definitely layers.
I'll always be a musician. Love that. Gotta do it.
That is good. Alex, did we forget anything, by the way?
I don't think so.
Okay, all right. Because you wanted to cover a couple, but I think we touched on everything, right?
I just wanted to thank the Ogden community for how
Yeah.
generous, supportive they are, and let
They're
you
the
know that-
best.
Yeah, we want to get back to
This
you
place
however
is
we
amazing.
can. So, Ogden Valley Adaptive Sports. I'm assuming you type that into Google, it finds all the things, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
.org.
okay.
So.
.org. Todd, what would we miss? Do you have any arts update? I don't have any adventure updates other than I told Todd this before. It's March tomorrow. So when this comes out, it's March. And I am now no longer shoveling snow. It's still snowing every day, but it's melted March. And so I am on strike from shoveling because it's just going to melt. I called enough. We have shoveled enough. Just let it melt from here.
As
on.
long as you know that when days pass, you're still responsible for your sidewalk. There's always some a-hole.
It depends on where.
It's
because
not the terrace?
I'm south facing, and so
You're talking to melt.
I watched it today,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Ooh, let's give it." And by like 12 or 1 o'clock, the sidewalk was melted. I'm like, "Yeah, let's go."
If you're using science to melt it, you're still doing it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's good.
My neighbor across the street, he was out of luck, but yeah.
I did want to mention one thing, and that is the day job that I have down at the Salt Lake City Arts Council. So I essentially run the Finch Gallery, which is in the historic art barn, and it's up by the university there. But anyway, I have a couple of calls to entry, that one that's going on right now and one that'll be going on next month, and I so wanted to make sure and mention that. And so information can be found saltlakearts.org. Essentially, the current one right now is for Finch Lane. We call them flash projects, and so they can be anywhere between like 2 minutes and 1 week. I've carved out 2 weeks throughout the year. It's 2 to 3 weeks, and so we have 2 more in 2023. Essentially, it could be performance art, it could be a music piece, or it simply could be a shortened amount of time where you're doing some sort of visual art piece. It really is more experimental. So those are called flash projects. There's a link on the website for that. And then the big call to entries will be happening March 20th through April, whatever that lines up to. I think it's about 4 weeks there. And that's essentially, I'll be booking out the Finch Lane Gallery for 2024. So we do the full year. And so
You plan ahead.
yes. Yeah, we kind of need to. And so we'll plan out the full year. And so if you're unfamiliar with the space, check out the website, come down and say hi. If you are familiar with the space, make sure and put it on your calendar and apply, because we'll get a bunch of applications for that. It's a great space. We have a West Gallery and an East Gallery, and so we essentially can do 2 different artists, or you can curate a show. I mean, that's an option as well. But there's 2 gallery spaces. Each
How
show
about a
lasts
podcast?
around 6 weeks. That could be a flash project of some kind, maybe. But we would have to maybe dance. We could throw in another level of something
Just
in there.
podcasting.
Just straight podcasting.
Just straight podcasting.
That sounds super fun.
Entertainment is F. Yeah.
Listen, I don't know if the selection committee will choose it, but
Okay.
you can
All
always
right.
apply.
All right.
You can always apply.
Do an installation around you.
I think if we could somehow do a little
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
extra.
Yeah, we need more Cole's ideas.
Yeah, maybe.
He knows. You'll do
Little
some
razzle and
installation.
dazzle.
Do
Yeah.
do the podcast within an installation.
Yeah.
You're good.
We'll talk the entire time someone does art around us.
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. You got an idea for
Okay.
that. Exactly. So anyway, start thinking about those things.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Cole, Alex, thanks so much for being here today. I very much enjoyed getting to know both of you more. So it was a
Wow.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you to Banyan One, that's this trailer right here, for powering today's episode of the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show. Listen and subscribe to the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show on YouTube. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe now to our YouTube page, Ogden Arts and Adventure. Look for us on Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. That's the podcast-only version, obviously. BanyanCollective.com is the blog. Podbean app is also available on Android and iPhones. If you want to be on the show, or you have someone in mind who should be on the show,
Reach out to our selection committee.
our selection committee, thank you.
It's a really tough process.
Wait, did you reach out, or did I reached out to you, right? Okay. There you go. Yeah. DM us on Instagram. It totally works. At Ogden Adventure, because I didn't change that yet. We will leave you this week with a little van, which, by the way, Cole, oh man, we need to get you back on van sessions.
It's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
We're
We just
going.
gotta
Yeah.
just-
We're. I think
He's
we're
already
good.
talked to the guys. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're good.
All right. It's I wouldn't breathe, because we've upped our game since you've been on. You were freezing your ass off in a van down by the river.
Down
Now we
by the
have
river.
like multiple camera people and photographers, and we video. So it's
Yeah.
a
You
whole
could
thing.
drink.
Now. You could drink.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna love that.
This right here, this whole scene turns into your green room. You just hang out in here.
Nice.
So yeah,
They'll be into
it's-
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's dope. This is "I Wouldn't Breathe" by Lovesick on Van Sessions at the Monarch, and we'll see you on the next Van Sessions.
Or
Or
Ogden Arts and Adventure.
oh yeah, we'll see. Yeah, or we'll see.
We want to
you
see you on all the shows.
We'll see you on the next Ogden Arts and Adventure Show. Thanks, Todd.
have had emerald eyes. And I know I'm impatient, but I feel like I've been waiting my whole life. And I know you're the bravest, 'cause baby you're breaking my heart. And if I end up waiting, I'll wait forever and some more. But I'm still surrounded by you, my love. And I see your face up in the stars above. And I would not breathe if there wasn't enough oxygen for the both of us. Well, I've been a lot of places, but none have been paradise. And I've grown so complacent without you by my side. And I'm okay with falling, but baby, I'm so scared of heights. And I'm usually the most wrong whenever I try to do right. But I'm still surrounded by you, my love. I see your face up in the stars above. And I would not breathe if there wasn't enough oxygen for the both of us. Thank you.